Bonus edition, bonus content, folks. Miami Hurricanes live, and we can only do this one because we get the Wholesome One on here from his YouTube channel. You got to catch him right at Wholesome One, HOLSUM, the number one, right here on YouTube. And again, we get some bonus coverage on Miami football only because he is kind enough to come on here and answer your comments and your questions. Wholesome One, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's great to be a Miami Hurricane. I mean, every day it's great to be a Miami Hurricane, especially when we were winning. But either way, we're winning off the field right now. It's the second year we've been off-season warriors, man. We got to make it to the fall season, but we'll see. I'm excited.
What the Wholesome One's referring to here is 3 notes concerning 3 very prominent players, and so we'll run them down, and we'll start with Jason Marshall. He's the 3rd-rated cornerback in the country. And as the Wholesome One has outlined and Kim Underwood many times, when you talk left tackle, when you talk, of course, quarterback, when you talk corner, edge rusher, you're talking elite positions. And when those players are that high, man, it grabs your attention. We're talking a top 30 player in the nation, regardless of position, out of Miami Palmetto. And he has listed Miami in its top 5.
Absolutely. Amongst some really good programs, amongst LSU, amongst Alabama, amongst Oregon, and amongst Florida, who all had great seasons compared to what the University of Miami had. But recently, and I think another thing that opened it up for the University of Miami is because his main recruiter has moved on from Florida to his home school and alumni of Mississippi State. And that was Coach Justin Chaney, cornerbacks coach or DB, whatever. He was his main recruiter, and he left there and switched over to Mississippi State. And I think that really opened up things for the University of Miami, who I honestly believe, as a biased Miami Hurricanes fan, Miami's always been in play, but we had to give him a reason to stay home. It's obvious amongst anybody who knows college football that if the University of Miami is rolling, the local players, of course, we won't sign everybody, but the local players will be in play. And we have not given them a reason to want to stay, at least the elite of the elite. We haven't given them a reason to want to stay, especially if you're talking about a business decision for their future. But we're working on it. And hopefully, like I said before, hopefully we're going to take those steps on the football field. But as far as recruiting and as far as in the offseason, Coach Benny Diaz has done a very, very good job in his short tenure as the head coach at Miami.
Got the Wholesome One talking Miami football, so please leave your comments and questions in the live chat, and I will catch up to them. And we just got a super chat. I'll catch up with that as well. Thank you so much for the contribution. All right, so Jason Arnold names Miami in his top 5. Jabari Ishmael is going to announce today, edge rusher. Let's get the numbers on him. He's out of Columbus High School in Miami, 14th rated weak side defensive end. He's a top 200 type player in the country, 20th rated player in the state of Florida. That's all according to the 247 composite.
Oh, yes. Just to correct myself, his name is Jamar Chaney, the coach from Florida that left to Mississippi State. Just want to make sure I correct myself. But when you talk about Jamari Ishmael, man, you talk about a kid that, yeah, everybody who's 6'5" plus is going to get compared to Greg Rousseau and his production and him moving from 218 all the way up to 260 in a calendar year as far as being a red shirt and being able to climb up the ladder weight room wise. What we can say is the fact that this young man has had ties to the program since birth. His father worked at the University of Miami and still does as one of the strength and conditioning coaches for a very, very long time here at Miami. This young man at 6'5", 218-ish, he has an ability to come in and redshirt and put on the weight properly. And I talk about ad nauseum, if you want to build something that is sustainable, you don't need players to contribute to your program until year 3, whether that be as a redshirt sophomore or as a true junior. With the depth that we have at defensive end, bringing in a guy like this with his size and length and being able to add him to Coach David Philly for at least 2 years before we really need him to start doing something, this young man is going to be signing up for something big. Now, like I said, going to be. He's supposed to be committing later on today. In all likelihood, it will be the University of Miami. If it is not, we will continue to recruit him. But I think this is our sole or maybe one of the two defensive ends we do pick up in this class.
Leonard Taylor is a guy we've been talking about with you and with Cam for quite some time, as he obviously, again, Miami Palmetto High School, the Palmetto 5, and he is prominent in that mix. Wow, third-rated defensive tackle in the country. You guys are in play for some serious talent across the board, and you don't need to get all of them. You would love to, but if you get your fair share of who you're in the mix for, man, this recruiting class could be stellar. Leonard Taylor's about 3 weeks away, August 6th, from naming his final decision.
Absolutely. And if we do get to hold on to things, to me, I believe if we do have an early signing period, which I don't know the answer to that question just yet, in all likelihood, we probably will still have a December for those who automatically are ready to go ahead and get pen to paper and get it rolling. But if we do not, I don't really, it's either give or take. But if Miami has the opportunity to sign these young men in December, I think we're going to have a big time recruiting class. And it's mind blowing. I mean, 6 and 7, and now in all likelihood going to have a top 10, at least a top 15 recruiting class. We've talked about this pass rushing 3 technique for weeks, for months, whether it was the great Cam Underwood or whether I'm blessed to be on this platform and talk about him. I mean, you talk about Miami Hurricanes, when we have a good team, one of the biggest things we do have is a dominant 3 technique. In the history of the Miami Hurricanes, you think about your Warren Saps, you think about your Cortez Kennedys, you think about your Russell Marylands, you think about your RJ McIntoshes recently, you think about your Allen Baileys of the 2010s, you think about Gerald Willis, even though that turned out to be 7 and 6. But if you talk about us having some really good seasons, it's an interior player who's not only big time in pass rush, but they can get after the run, and they're blowing guards up, and they are continuously being in the backfield affecting the play. And that's what you're looking at with Leonard Taylor. I mean, he's a 3 technique who's 6'4", 255 pounds right now, before he even gets into a strength and conditioning program at the Division I level. So that means this guy's projected to be 280, 285, 290 by his second or third year with no problem. Already showing that playmaking ability. The man had 2 interceptions at defensive tackle. I mean, you're talking about a big-time prospect who a 6 and 7 team should have no say-so in his commitment. But not only are we in the say-so, we are top 2. So we're about less than a month away. Things could be very, very great for us moving forward. And we're excited, man. We are excited.
The live chat is fired up. We appreciate the super chat contributions coming in. I will post those to the screen as soon as I get them. So I'm working quite a few minutes behind all of you in regards to your comments coming in, but we appreciate it. And I hope and I believe you do, based on the response we're getting today, you understand what we've got here with the Wholesome One. So what I want you to do after you get done watching the commentary and the analysis right here is head on over to the Wholesome One's YouTube channel. Check out what he's got going there. Subscribe over there. Again, HOLSUM, the number 1. There is room for all of us. So you know what I bring you right here in trying to cover the entirety of college football across the nation. But if you want to take the deep dive and get some serious analysis on Miami football, head on over there, because as you mentioned last week, you gave us a 3-part series on Greg Russo on your channel. Just so if you really want to understand how this team looks and how it could possibly execute this season, you get that type of insight over with the Wholesome One.
Thank you.
So what's the latest post there, Wholesome One?
My latest?
Yeah.
I actually I'm dropping part 2 of the Greg Rousseau tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. The first part was a film breakdown of him against Pittsburgh. The second one that's coming out will be a film breakdown of him against Virginia tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So go ahead and check that out. It's about 15 to 18 minutes of some some great breaking down. I mean, defensive line is my specialty. I'm working on learning and expanding outside, but if you talk about the center to offensive tackles or 1 technique to 9 technique, then that's where I have my area of expertise.
Bradley, thank you so much for the Super Chat contribution. We appreciate you understanding what we're trying to deliver here each and every day at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, and specifically when we've got the Wholesome One on here to break down Miami with a lot of exciting news on the recruiting front today. All right. We'll leave it wide open for comments and questions. Nate the Great, don't be late. He continues to hammer home this Miami-Nebraska rivalry.
Oh, I'm with him. I mean, 2 programs that need each other. I mean, if it wasn't for them going for 2 and us swatting that pass down, I mean, who knows how different college football is, especially for the University of Miami, having that stage and taking advantage of that stage and pulling it. Whoa, $50 donation. Thank you, David Knight. Appreciate you. God bless. And coming through that, I mean, another team I've always wanted us to have, even if it's every other year or at least once every 4 years, besides Nebraska, is Penn State. If you really want to test a team, you need to play those big time, not really big time, but those teams they're beatable. Okay, we're comparable in certain aspects, and they're going to be well coached, well prepared teams. And that is something that we've talked about ad nauseum when it comes to the Miami Hurricanes, is the talent versus the coaching and production side of things. And when you play certain teams, you got to make sure you have you cross those T's and you dot those I's. It isn't just about being faster than the guy. You got to have the great technique and the great coaching. I think Nebraska and Penn State are 2 of those teams that I would love for Miami to renew, or maybe if we were both really good one year and met in a bowl game, I think that would be big time.
David, we so much appreciate the contribution. I also want to highlight David for a second here because we've had 3 exclusive live streams on Thursday night and plan on having another one next Thursday night. So what that means is you can come on here like the Wholesome One is right now. So just put yourself in his place. We had 6 on the line last night to talk college football directly with me. So we had 12 sign up, 6 showed up, and you just talk. I send you the link, and it's an exclusive live stream. Nobody else can watch, and we just have kind of a closed college football forum, and you guys run the show. Wholesome One, it's so good that I don't even talk for an hour. These guys get into a conversation, and they're rolling with it, and they produce the show. They talk, and I want you guys to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about concerning college football, whether that's directed toward me or just everybody as a conversation. And we just had a good time for our 3rd exclusive live stream last night. So again, that offer's out there again next Thursday night. Just let me know that you would like to take part in the exclusive live stream. But exclusively today, right now, is the Wholesome One talking Miami football right here, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Yes, Ohio State 8 AP poll natties. Mark, never forget Ohio State's 1970 national championship. Let's make a correction here. I do my best to be unbiased and to be fair. Ohio State does not deserve the 1970 national championship. They lost the Rose Bowl. They don't deserve it. Mark it off. I can possibly argue for an Ohio State 2012 and 1996 national championship. I will do that. And if you check out the series that I've been posting in regards to reviewing national championship series, I give a pretty good championship. I will do.
Mark, you there? All right, everybody there? Okay. Okay, Mark froze, but that's okay. I guess it's the Wholesome One on Mark Rogers TV. What's up? How y'all doing? Happy to see everybody. Okay, we can Mark, you there?
I'm back. I apologize, man. It just froze up here, and I checked out my Wi-Fi, and it switched to another network, and I had to try to get it back to the original one. So I was glad that you were able to come back on here.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We almost had hosting on MarkRogersTV, baby.
That's it.
We almost went all K's. You got to be careful, you know.
Well, yeah, I don't want you Canes fans to completely hijack the channel. I give you plenty of time as it is, but if I'm going to entrust the channel in somebody's hands, Wholesome One, I got no issue with you on here breaking it down.
Appreciate it. So in the comments, Martin Dude, yes, we did talk about Jason Marshall putting us in the top 5. That was like the very first thing we talked about. And I think having that big elite step at cornerback, and like you talked about earlier, there's a couple positions in football, not just college football, but in football, period, that if you're elite at, you're going to be amongst the best towards the end in January. And the biggest thing is having a QB, of course. QB, cornerback, pass rushers, of course, offensive line, but I think that's more of a unit. You know, you need a really solid unit. But if you can tell me we got like the best left tackle in college football, we got the best corner in college football, we got amongst the best QBs in college football, we have the best safety core, we got the best pass rush, those type of things, you need those players. And if you can couple that up with them fitting a really good system, and then the coaches being able to connect with the players, I mean, you're talking about building something that is ultra sustainable. And I think that's what Coach Manny Diaz's plan is when it comes to the Miami Hurricanes of the future.
So the situation involving Jaden Francois out of Homestead, Florida, Southdate High School.
Yeah. So he's entered the transfer portal. He kind of spurned Miami on National Signing Day for Nebraska. The young man, it's touchy for me in those type of situations because we don't know the full story. Supposedly his recruiter at Nebraska left, and he still signed with Nebraska after decommitting from Miami twice. He still signed with them, and then now he's entering the transfer portal, effective as of this morning. So I don't know what's going on with the young man. Do I want him on our team? No. After the way he did us, committed, decommitted, committed it, recommitted again, and decommitted. No, we don't need that. Wish him the very best, and hopefully everything works out for him. But he is a South Florida guy, a South Dade, Miami guy who went over to Nebraska. Things didn't work out. Now he's into the transfer portal. So
I am all for second chances, third chances, fourth chances, depending on the situation. So to your point, Wholesome One, and I think I'm on the same page, correct me if I'm wrong, it's just a situation where you can say, yes, absolutely, we back you, we support you, we hope you find a place out there. But after you've spurned us that many times, it just doesn't create a good, even if he, boom, righted the ship and was fully committed, you just don't know that. Right. And based on the evidence that you've seen, you've got to think that he's going to continue to waver and maybe not necessarily be committed to the program and the situation, and only be making a decision out of circumstances and not really wanting to be there if he originally had made that decision and then confirmed that decision to go elsewhere. So for him not to be completely committed with his decision being a football decision as well as a family decision is not necessarily the best thing right there.
Absolutely. And like I said, I don't really like speaking on things personally, but if we're talking about him as a football player, very good. He was Miami caliber when we recruited him. He was Miami caliber when he committed twice. So I'm not going to come on and disrespect him and say he's not good. By any means, the young man can play. He has talent to play at the Division I level, and would have loved for him to be a Miami Hurricane. But there gets to a point where we gave you 2 chances, and then on National Signing Day was basically your third, and you still didn't. So hey, like I said, I don't privy to down talking young men, but in that situation, I think we're good at the U. Enjoyed
the conversation last night with Mohammed. So thank you so much, Mohammed Hussein, for the super chat contribution. Appreciate that. Mohammed's alluding to our conversation again during our exclusive live stream last night. Mohammed took part. We had a great college football conversation last night on our exclusive live stream. Big Canes fan, and asking again just to confirm and wholesome one address the Jason Marshall situation. It's going to be a difficult competition when you talk Alabama, Florida, Clemson in particular, included in that top 5. But you've got the close proximity. Obviously, there have been some relationships built there. Those are programs that are currently winning at a high level. Miami has not, but you've got a few things in play, wholesome one, that would favor Miami in regards to location, and maybe the relationships have been built that are going to mean more to Jason Marshall.
That's a young man that, Coach Ephraim Banda, who is amongst the best recruiters on our staff, is his lead and primary recruiter. Okay. He's our safeties coach, and he is the be-all, end-all when it comes to division backs, whether it's cornerbacks or safeties at the University of Miami. They get signed off by Ephraim Banda. The recruiting staff at Miami, they've been doing an amazing job, whether it be from adding Coach Telly Lockett, who was the former tight ends coach up in Tallahassee, comes home to Miami, where he should have always been. Who was the head recruiter for Dante Lucas, who was the head recruiter when Dalvin Cook and those guys were going from Miami up to Tallahassee. He was the main reason why. And now he's a part of the Miami Hurricanes staff. I don't know what potential position it will be. Either way, he's officially a part of the Miami Hurricanes staff. What that means is recruiting is going to take a even bigger step, because that opens up the doors at some places where the relationship wasn't the best between the University of Miami and said high school because of what Coach Al Golden did when he was head coach here. And when it comes to this corner, man, 6'2", 180 pounds, ready-made player to come and contribute to Miami ASAP. That means as soon as possible right now, he's coming in and contributing. Now, if we were rolling, it would be nice if he could get a red shirt, but we're not. He's a guy that can come in, and I'm not saying he has to be your number one corner from day one, but he's coming and he has something to say about being the number one corner at Miami. And in all likelihood, with Al Blaze Jr. And DJ Ivy both coming back, with Christian Williams being a year older, and now Isaiah Dunsett being at that time when Jason Marshall would come in, would either be a redshirt freshman or a true sophomore. He's going to have something to say as the best corner in our home state, and one of the best corners to come out of Miami-Dade County in a while, actually.
Wholesome one, Swampy McGee did not apply for the job. He didn't send his resume. He just took charge and became the official research director for MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. He just joins in the live chat and he just starts spewing out information on every player, every coach. He gives us the bios. He gives us the history, the scores. Swampy McGee, we appreciate it. Thanks for that. As we continue down the live chat, keep in mind that if you bring your comments, questions, and debate topics for the Wholesome One, he will certainly analyze anything concerning Miami football, and I'll jump in where I believe I've got something to say as well. You know, I always love to hit you with this one, Wholesome One. Let's say we're playing football tomorrow, and Miami's on the field. Who are you going to be most excited to watch play?
Oh, woo!
That's player.
A player?
I'll give you one offense, one defense.
I don't want to be – everyone's over – I don't want to say overhyped. Everyone is expecting this guy to be the be-all, end-all. So I want to see if the hype is matching up with the production when it comes to De'Aaron King. I'm excited about it, but, man, this fan base is making it seem like this dude is just going to win the natty. So I'm hoping that him and this offense can roll. So I'm pretty excited to see De'Aaron King in orange and green. Defensive side of the ball, I've seen Greg. I've definitely done my due diligence and research of Greg, to be honest, it's Jalen Phillips for me. I want to see that transfer from UCLA coming off the edge or as a 3 technique, however we match it up on third downs for him to be able to get in the game. And I really want to see him take over because he has the ability. You watch his high school film, and this dude was either number 1 or number 2 player in the country. And that was a couple years ago, removed from that. But either way, a talent like that in orange and green. And the last transfer from the West Coast on the defense side of the ball is Bubba Bolden. And he came on and was a big difference for the Miami Hurricanes. And for the first time, one of the players who we were hyped about transferring, a former 4-star border, a high 4-star. I don't know if he was in conversation for 5-star, but he got on the field and you saw a big difference of him on our football field. I'm hoping that Jalen Phillips has that same impact, if not more, being a rotational guy behind Quincy Roche and Greg Rousseau. So my 2 would be De'Aaron King and Jalen Phillips.
I got to think that Miami fans are being kind to me and not jumping all over me, but looking at this Notre Dame helmet over my shoulder constantly, they got to be thinking we got to do something about that. So,
and then you got it next to that Tyler Trashy hat. Oh my goodness!
You guys are rivals? No,
that's fine. Make them face each other. That would be good.
There we go. Well,
that looks a lot better.
Do one of these.
Yeah.
Go.
Now that brings some memories right there.
There it is right there.
That's a good one.
Wholesome one. Talking ACC, Luke Walker brings up a pod proposal that was online yesterday that drew all sorts of conversations. So I'll set you up because I see that look on your face. Yeah. So this is involving basically what the ACC is going to do about scheduling. So let's say the Big Ten. Let's take the Big Ten, for example. They're only going to play conference games. They have said that they're going to add 1 conference game to the 9 that they already play. You would think that they would just tack on an extra game for everyone, but they are tearing the schedule completely apart in the Big Ten. That's what they're saying. We are starting from scratch because they would build like buffers in the schedule to be flexible and adaptable in case there are issues with players and teams have to be quarantined for a week or 2 or whatever. The Pac-12 is doing something similar. The ACC still wrestling with the opportunity of possibly playing a revised non-conference slate with the SEC. That's been bantied about, whether with all the rivalries between the 2 conferences, meaning Florida State, Georgia Tech, Louisville, Kentucky, and Clemson, South Carolina, that traditionally play on Thanksgiving weekend, that you just match up the rest of the conference, and that's your kind of one non-conference weekend between the ACC and the SEC. But specifically when it comes to ACC scheduling, because the ACC is going to bail out Notre Dame and pretty much give them a schedule this year, they already play 6 games. They usually play 5, but it was going to be 6 this year against the ACC, that they're going to give them a full-fledged schedule and kind of bring them in as a 15th team. So it kind of tears up the divisions to a certain extent, creates an imbalance that they're talking about putting the ACC possibly like in 5-team pods, like three divisions of 5 teams, and they play home and homes, which doesn't seem real fair for the teams that get Clemson and have to play Clemson twice. It's the most imbalanced conference from that standpoint of any of the 5, of course, Clemson being out in front. But just in regards to, let's say you don't play any non-conference games this season against the other conferences, and let's say you've got to pack it in and just play conference games. Is there anything special you would like to see done with the schedule that you think would make it more attractive?
Man, a pod proposal. I've never heard of that. That's like you said, the way I was looking, I'm like, what's a pod proposal? What's that? I mean, you got, like I said, you got a big-time QB. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Clemson. I think it would be great to have that opportunity to see where we are as a program. I think people who have that approach of, if you're scared to play them, that means you're soft. No, that's not where we're going with this. But at the end of the day, they are the cream of the crop in the ACC. And having a chance to play them and get an opportunity to see how and where we line up at is important. Who else on the other side? I think another matchup with Louisville would be kind of cool. I think they're going to be a really good team. I like their offense, and I like their QB. I think he's a really good player. I mean, we already played Tallahassee, but, I mean, I would love to kind of get that done and over with one time, not play them home and home.
Okay.
You know, so I don't know how that would really roll as far as you play those 5 teams. Because what you're saying is we would play 5 teams at home and then play those 5 teams away, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so
exactly.
Whew. So I said Louisville, Clemson. I don't want Tallahassee. Give me North Carolina. We got to give it to them twice. I would love it. Kick them in the face. Duke. We got to. We're on a 2-game losing streak to Duke. Maybe we could make up for that with the home and home. Okay, perfect. And then who else would I want to play twice? Georgia Tech. Yeah, that's another team that's on the rise too. And they're in Atlanta, a place that we would like to creep into recruiting. And they beat us last year. So give me Georgia Tech, give me Clemson, give me Duke, give me North Carolina, and what's my 15?
You had Louisville in there.
Louisville. There we go. Now, I'm not saying don't play Tallahassee, but playing them home and home, woo, with Manny Diaz, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Now, you folks know me that I love to rank things, rate things. I'm always being asked by people, what's your top 10 this and how would you change this? And I'm always tearing up schedules and telling college football how they should do things to set up a playoff and set up schedules. So believe me, I've gone through all this. And so I've got all sorts of lists made and I've reworked all schedules. So we got to cut those videos, man. I've reworked all Power 5 schedules. So we'll get those out here pretty soon of how I would tackle this mess. Muhammad's trying to address the offensive line. Wholesome one. He likes the way you've got it set up, but he likes Clark at left guard. Wants to know your thoughts about Gaynor at center as well as Scaife at right guard.
I like that. Either way, I think it will be a conversation made for Ja'Kai Clark having a chance to be a player as a true sophomore and a contributor. But I think a JUCO transfer, older player in Osman Traore, who's somebody that the team and the coaches talked about a lot as a scout team guy who had the red shirt last year, and Cleveland Reed being one of the best offensive guards in the state of Florida and was a top 15 at his position nationally coming out of the 2018 recruiting class. It would be really good for them to be our 1 and 2 or 2 deep at left guard so that Ja'Kai Clark can get a red shirt year. I think a redshirt year on the offensive line is ultra important for the development of the young men, not only physically but mentally, and having a year where they can focus and hone in on the weight room, they can hone in and focus on Green Tree practice field, and they can make sure that they're in film rooms and focusing 110% on developing themselves before they have to go out and play against grown men who are 20, 21, 22, 23, and they're 18 years old. I think that is super important. The offensive line in which that he's talking about would be at left tackle. I had John Campbell. At left guard, I have a battle between Osman Traore and Cleveland Reed. At center, I have Corey Gaynor. At right guard, I have DJ Scaife. And at right tackle, I have Jared Williams to transfer from Houston. A lot of people say the interchangeability of moving Jared Williams from right tackle to left tackle and moving John Campbell from left tackle to right, either way. But Jared Williams has played majority right tackle. He was even slotted as one of the best in the AAC, which is super comparable to the ACC Coastal. So it isn't that much of a big step to where he wouldn't be able to contribute at a high level. It's one of the best tackles in the AAC. So he can come here to the ACC Coastal, and I think he'll do very, very well. He's 6'7", 305 pounds, so he can play left or right tackle. He has the feet to be a left tackle. But, I mean, if he's the best right tackle, why not just leave him over there and just let him do his thing? Now push come to shove, move him over if we have to, but let him play the right tackle and roll over there.
This is the kind of attitude we like right here. I started work today at 6. I took lunch at 2 so I could catch the Miami live stream Mark Rogers, the wholesome one, 904 Hurricane. We appreciate it. Always encouraging people to like the show, as do a number of people in here. And I see there was quite the level of excitement when I dropped off because we had the wholesome one ready to take over here. Miami was going to take over Mark Rogers TV.
Let's do it. I mean, we get 3 shows a week. I mean, might as well just go ahead and let us get one solo with me and Cam.
That's it right there. I would be fine with that. There's no issue there. I know it's in good hands.
True. We would have a great time.
We've got our Florida State folks in here, though. They always show up, too. So they show up. We got North Carolina represented, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, and some others here.
Oh, yeah.
J-Love T, keep it real, H1, about Jaden Francois, keep it real. J-Love T, we always appreciate your comments. Always appreciated. Ohio State still trying to claim some more national championships.
It's okay. I'm not even going to discuss one of them. We've left that. We've had that conversation ad nauseum. We'll leave it alone.
Redbeard. All right. Make it a Mark Rogers Voice of College Football kind of day. Go Noles. This Tallahassee deal. So when you call them Tallahassee, did you come up with that? Or is there like a group of you that refers to the Noles as Tallahassee?
You know, for as long as that's where they're from, I can't really claim to say I came up with it. It's something that I've been doing since high school. I have a very strong dismay for them. I loathe them. And that's just my thing. I call the other school in Tallahassee FAMU. I refer to them, the HBCU, the Marching 100. I refer to them as the school. The other school, they're just Tallahassee, man. It's just something I just don't. Tisk. There's a couple things I can say I came up with. Hashtag rewatch squad. You know, it's great for me to see that on like all the other YouTubers, whether it's Miami Hurricanes or like some of the other stuff I watch. And it's just like really cool to see something that just clicked in my head. And I mean, I don't have a trademark. I mean, somebody else, I guess, could claim that they came up with it too. But it was just something I'm like, you know, you got live squad, you got rewatch squad, you know, and everyone is just as important. You know, as a YouTuber, it's amazing to have the people who are here for the live, but rewatch is what happens as soon as I hit in. So rewatch squad can go on to the end of time, man. And for those of you who are part of either or, we thank you very much.
And so we remind everyone that joins us a little bit late, you can go back and catch what you missed as soon as the video processes and posts, which only takes about 15 or 20 minutes. So you can head on back and catch the wholesome one from start to finish. Also remind everyone in the live chat that if you want to see a particular media guest, I think we got Miami pretty well covered. So we're good there. But in regards to all the other teams, you know, I'm a little light on Tennessee, Texas A&M. I could go down the line. My goal here is to cover college football and let the wins and the losses dictate who we talk about, and obviously the popularity of the fan bases. So if there's a particular team that you like and want to see media guests, just let me know who they are, and I will bring them on, or I will do my best to provide the analysis, of course, myself.
Man, it was, I tell you what, the platform that you give us as content creators, I just want to say thank you, Mark. I mean, for me, somebody who, when I started this 2 years ago, never, ever thought I would get a chance to be in this spot, from watching the people that I looked up to be in this exact spot. And then now you're opening it up to everybody, whether you are a content creator or not. We just want to say we appreciate you and thank you very much, Mark.
Absolutely. Looking for more comments, questions, debate topics, anything you'd like to leave in the chat. So,
you know, that's a good one there. In Notre Dame joining the ACC, I think, Mark, we have to, as college football, I understand Miami was an independent at one point. There were some big-time programs that have been independent over the entirety of college football. But in a situation like this, I personally think it's ultra unfair that we're just leaning to Notre Dame and giving them games. No, they need to join a conference. I usually don't speak on stuff like that, things that I don't have a lot of information on. I don't know why they haven't joined. I've heard different stories about them trying to join the Big Ten and Michigan pushing them away. I've seen Miami and ACC teams be playing them over at least half a decade. I think about since 2015 on, they've come and played some ACC games. So I don't know if they are in contract dispute or in conversation with officially joining the ACC. Either way, they need to join a conference, man. It just isn't. It isn't right, and it isn't fair that all these other teams have to, and then they're always in conversation for a bowl game or playoff because it's a big conference. Oh, and Notre Dame. No, they need to be a part of it and join. Whether it could be the Big Ten or the ACC. Personally, I would love to kick them in the face every now and again. So I would love if they joined the ACC Coastal. But the college football fan in me, man, the rivalries they have in the Big Ten, it would be amazing if they joined that conference too. But I personally think they need to make a decision.
So these are the kind of controversies and topics I do hit on a regular basis here. So as soon as the Big Ten and the Pac-12 had made their decisions and there was speculation that the ACC was going to go a similar route in regards to non-conference games, I could not jump on here fast enough and post a video on my thoughts that the ACC Commissioner John Swafford should strong-arm Notre Dame and say, you are going to join the ACC or you're not playing football in 2020 because every other conference is shutting you down. You've already had games against USC, Stanford, and Wisconsin shut down. Therefore, you need us this year.
Facts.
And the estimation, Wholesome One, for Iowa State to not play football this year is losing $40 million. So can you imagine what that figure would be for Notre Dame? So I don't know what that is, $80 million. I don't know what that figure is. But if I'm the ACC commissioner, even for selfish reasons, to cement my legacy as a great all-time contributor to the ACC, can you imagine if you're the guy that forced ACC Notre Dame to join the ACC in football, and we're sitting here 50 years from now, and people are wondering, yeah, when did Notre Dame join the ACC? Who made that happen?
2020.
Well, I want to be the guy that took a totally debacle, awful, catastrophic situation and turned it into a positive to take one of the football powers in the nation and bring them into a conference that right now is down. Would be tremendous.
We need help. I'm keeping it bluntly honest. We are a solid conference filled with some historic teams, and we got a dominant squad right now. Our tier 2 is as low as some other people's tier 4 in their own conference, okay? And I'm speaking about the Canes also. We got to get our stuff together. Those people in Tallahassee got to get their stuff together. What happened to Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech? I mean, there are some teams in this conference that, when playing well, can vial in 8, 9, 10 and go to a bowl game and do really well. My only question to you, Mark, who else would you add in with Notre Dame? Because we have to be equal. You can't have one side. We technically can, but it would make things a lot worse and harder to do. So who would be that team that you would want added to the ACC with Notre Dame, geographically or personally?
I got it for you. I got it. UCF. There's a good football edition right there. That's a great football edition.
Those fake national championship winning people will be pretty happy about that. And bring them to the Coastal, too. We need that. Come on over, swing. Come on down. Come down to Miami Gardens, and we're going to show you what real football look like in this state. Not playing in a schedule that they do and then just reap the benefits now. Can't take it away. Undefeated is undefeated. You go 2 whole years undefeated, you deserve some respect. But that fan base, man, people could say the same about us, but that in our fan base, because we're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs too. But that UCF fan base, blah, that would be really good. So would you send UCF to the Coastal or the Atlantic, in your opinion? Where would you think?
So let's see.
Because geographically, they would join the Coastal. It would make sense. The team.
I think there are 2 major considerations. One's geographic, one's competitive. You want to balance out the divisions as much as you can forecast how good the programs generally are. And right now, the Coastal is just kind of straight across Everybody gets their turn, even though Miami's athletically better. And then North Carolina and Virginia Tech, everybody's been in the running, whereas Clemson has separated itself. And before that, it was Florida State. And then you've got everyone else. Let's see. Man, you got to think that Notre Dame needs to join the Coastal from a competitive standpoint to somewhat balance Clemson and Florida State out, because if Florida State gets their act together before Miami does, then you got a real problem competitively.
Because then you would have 3 on one side and 1 on the other. But then you add a team in UCF who's pretty comparable and they can fight, and they would fit in the Coastal as far as being the side where it's the solid teams is the Coastal side, because then if you put UCF on our side and you send Notre Dame to the Atlantic, I mean, that gives a lot more to Clemson, having to play a squad and really challenge them year in and year out. And then I guess you could have that cross rival. The 2 teams we would pick would be Notre Dame and Tallahassee for Miami, cross rivalry.
Yeah, there you have it. Miami Talk with the Wholesome One. Please check him out on his YouTube channel, HOLSUM, the number 1. I'll put the banner up here at some point later in the show so you can see it and head on over there to subscribe to his content on Miami football. Man, Ohio State 8 AP poll natties is just beating us down about 1970.
I mean, my dad was 1 year old, so I don't really know much about 1970.
I take care of that business, Wholesome.
Yeah, exactly.
I dive into that stuff.
You got the old school. I'll tell you what, if we were rolling it back to Miami, man, recruiting, relationships, the impact of what's going on nationally, all those things are working towards the good for the University of Miami. Now, you gotta win. Everything else is checked off. School buy-in. That's something that a lot of great programs have, is the buy-in from the school. Whether it's financially, whether it's just the support, Coach Manny Diaz has that. All right. Locally, people, because if you're bringing in their children and you're bringing in people who are family and friends of said big-time recruits to come play at our local home stadium, the people are investing in the program too. So you got the school, you have the folks, you got the players in recruiting, you got the players on the field. They talk about how the leadership has changed at Miami. A lot of our players love the new staff. They talk about Coach Rob Likens, Coach Garrett Justice, Coach Rhett Lashley, and the fact that they're willing to build a relationship with these players and care about them as people. As far as daily Zooms, just asking about, of course, football is a part of it, but just asking how you're doing, how's your mom, how's your kid, how's life, what's going on with you, building a true relationship. I understand that it's a business, and we got to go win football games, but to have that even talked about, because to us, that's just something that you should have. You should have a relationship with your position coach, but that is not how it has been at Miami. Okay, and then that's one thing that the players are talking about at now, is they truly love the way that we're working, how the speed and how the offense was just destroying this top 20 ranked defense for the last 4 years in practice with no problem. Up and down the field, going at warp speed. So what is that going to do? That's going to force the defense to have to catch up. So a defense that's already been really good, Mark, is now willing to take that next step against a spread offense. The players feel respected. The players feel loved. They feel comfortable, and they're able to play fast on the offense. And now you need that to come together on the defensive side of the ball also. You got the buy-in from the school. You got the buy-in from the players and locally. You got to win games on Saturday afternoon and night. That's the last thing. We got to go out here and win games. And if we do have a season, I'm not going to say he has to win a certain amount of games. He needs to win football games. Whether it's 9 games, whether it's 10, you got a 10-game or 9-game season. Every week, you need to give 110 into that game. We got to come out with W's, because it can really fall apart if it doesn't work out this year, Mark, because the buy-in is to a different level. And if you can't go out there and get it done and get it handled, people are going to eventually put their hands in the air and say, it's nothing that I can do. We've invested here. We've invested in sending our kids here, and it's still not working. What are we going to do?
And to extend on your point, when you're in the mix for the kind of athletes that we're talking about and that we highlighted at the beginning of the show in regards to Leonard Taylor and Jason Marshall and those kind of guys, and you're able to build the relationships, make the connection, sell the program, sell the history, sell whatever meets that kid and connects with them. But after year after year after year of losing 4 and 5 and 6 games, when all these other programs are losing 0 or 1 or 2, you can only sell that for so long in terms of, this is what we're going to do. This is the potential. This is what we have. This is what we could do versus, okay, as Cam often calls it, the proof of concept.
Absolutely. You have to. And eventually it gets to a point. You're a parent, Mark. Could you imagine the school coming and for years, as much research as you have done, you know that if they do get it right, it can be amazing. But are you going to trust your son's future when you have Ohio State calling where I could send him there. He's going to be great. It's that if I have a 4 or 5 star recruit son, there's a couple schools that for a fact if he puts pen to paper, he's going to get the best pulled out of him. And he's going to have to become great if he ever wants to even touch the field, let alone be a starter and a high contributor. And if Miami wants to pull in those high guys, we have to be able to give them their return on investment. And yeah, it may not come first year, it may not come second year, but these players and their families and their friends and these recruits, they're all having conversations too. And eventually that return on investment or proof of concept needs to happen at Miami. We can't keep doing the whole 5 national championships and the U part 1 and part 2. That stuff is decades ago. We want to change. We got to change now, right now, like yesterday. And it has to happen at Miami. And I think Coach Manny Diaz has not only the right mindset, he's surrounded himself with people who believe in what he believes in for the youth.
Got 106 on the line. So what we would like everyone to do is to hit the like button. So you can at least do that. Please help us build the channel by hitting the like button. And then when you're done here, head on over to the Wholesome Ones channel, HOLSUM and the number 1. Lionel Gibbs wondering, we appreciate the encouragement there. First of all, Lionel, hey, Mark and Wholesome One, love the show. Robert Burns, sleeper on offense. Your thoughts?
Big back, high ability, one of the best Spark ratings in Spark history. Young man that's had an injury-filled career up until this point. Scored his very first touchdown last year against Duke. He's a young man that we're rooting for. It's no way around it. The guy, he loves Miami, and when healthy, would be a very good player. I just hope and pray he gets to stay healthy. Rarely do you see people who come in college football and have an injury-riddled first couple of years. Do they stay healthy the latter half of their career? If he is blessed to have that opportunity and have the carries that we hope he does, I hope he runs like a madman. Because as a redshirt sophomore, so 3 years into the program, he has less than 10 carries maybe. He played against FIU and played against Duke some of the last games of the season. That was about it. So we will see what he can bring to the table and what he can contribute. I mean, he's a guy that he looks amazing. If you ever see him, he's a physical specimen. But he has to have the health to be on the football field. And that's something that no one has control over. So hopefully Coach David Philly and his staff, strength and conditioning, nutrition, and hopefully we can keep him healthy.
Luke Walker and many others in the past calling for a Florida State-Miami crossover show. We did that one time, and it was prior to Florida State-Miami last year, I believe, and it was a good time. We went for 2 hours before that one.
Next time you want to have Tallahassee on, let's do 2 versus 2, not 2 versus 1.
Sure, we
and
can do that.
My number, I will be ready. willing and able to stand toe to toe with those people.
I will stay out of the way and just have a good time watching. Those are the best shows, is when I can just sit back and just soak it in, when I get you and Cam going, or that type of deal. That
was fun. You know what? You're right, Lionel. I don't want to come across as someone who's scared to play Tallahassee. I wouldn't mind having them in the home and home. I don't want people to get it wrong and get it misconstrued. What I was saying is the fact that I don't know. In that game, you never know. And being able to have it played one time, handle it, and get it over with, and not have to deal with that for another year, feels good. But I don't want people to get that misconstrued. They will be, if we ever did the 5-game home and home, they would definitely be on the schedule. There's no way that they would not allow that game to go down.
All right, folks, hope you appreciate it. The Wholesome One gives us an hour just about every week to break down Miami football. Keep in mind that we just recently posted an offensive breakdown that the Wholesome One provided us here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. You'll see the thumbnail shot of De'Ara King. So click on that. It's a Miami offense breakdown from the Wholesome One right here. And also the defense is coming up here in the next few days. I think we can keep the Wholesome One right here for a little bit more time. Let's see what else we've got here.
Let's see.
I tell you, Swampy McGee, 5-star prospect cornerback Jason Marshall, Palmetto High
his
School.
Copy and paste button must hurt, man. He's just going on the keyboard, huh?
He gave us the Mark Richt bio before he gets to everybody.
I feel that. So I have a question for you, Mark.
Sure.
I love getting people's perspective from outside looking in. I think that is one of the most important things, because you're unbiased towards it. You're able to look at it and say, oh, things are going well. I like this. I hear that. What's your view on Miami football right now? You know, there's some things you're seeing that you actually like. Do you think it's the same old? Or, you know, what's your view?
Well, I think that the recruiting has been on a level in which this team is obviously should have been winning more games. Now, I do not think that it's been elite level recruiting. It's been in that, as you have cited, that 2016 or 17 class that was 8th ranked in the country was the peak, the pinnacle. Up until what could possibly be coming in for 2021. But the roster has served up the talent that should have been performing at the 9-3, top 15 to 20 in the nation level. And we've generally not seen that except for that 2017 team. Okay. So I think that there have been, and I watch Miami play 8 or 9 times a year. You know, I'm not watching them play Bethune-Cookman or FIU, and I should have watched the FIU game. As soon as I saw that score come across the screen, I grabbed it on digital and I watched the fourth quarter just to see what in the world happened. But, I'm watching almost every ACC game in the big non-conference games, and I think that they are being out-coached. I think from a preparation standpoint and from a scheme standpoint, and that was more in general last season across the board in regards to being prepared for games. And to be a little bit more specific, it was more obvious watching Florida State football under Willie Taggart in particular, and I don't want to pick on him because he was given some of the decline of the program from Jimbo Fisher, who kind of gave in that final season, and it started to tumble downhill. Willie Taggart took over a good roster, but what was more pronounced for Florida State, which I don't think is so obvious for Miami football, but what I saw out of Florida State that I think is also evident, that Florida State couldn't, we're talking in game 10, couldn't line up correctly, had wide receivers who didn't know that one of them had to be a yard back off the line of scrimmage, and they'd get thrown penalty flags left and right for just coming out of timeouts and running out the play clock. Where for Florida State, it was just egregious, horrible, It wasn't to that degree with Miami, but way beyond. They were getting out coached by, again, David Cutcliffe's staff at Duke. Those teams shouldn't be on the same field. When you've got a top 15 roster taking on a top 50 or 55 roster. And so that's where I have to see whether Manny Diaz is not a head coach or he is just a first-year head coach who will improve by leaps and bounds. And then the Mark Richt situation offensively, he should have turned that over and been a CEO and been a head coach, and that could have been just tremendous. That could have been what it needed to be. But Dan Enos preached a lot and told us a lot of what it was going to look like, and it wasn't much of a separation from what it was before offensively last year. So Rhett Lashley brings a lot of hope with the combination of he unleashing De'Aaron King, but I think it's been mostly lack of player development, one, and in-game coaching and game and clock management, two.
Perfect. It's for me, it's nice to hear it from someone else's perspective. I mean, yeah, you like Ohio State, but you try to be unbiased and do the whole. But it's sad. I mean, if it's that noticeable for someone like you, all I've ever asked is how is it not noticeable for the people whose opinions it truly matters? And that FIU loss, losing a little sister like that is what changed it all. Yeah, we could have beat FIU, lost a La Tech. I don't think that we get the same changes to the degree that we did. Danny knows is gone no matter what, but to the degree of going and getting even grad assistants that are local high school coaches and promoting them into the university, little things like that, I don't believe happen unless they really felt like they hit rock bottom. And to lose to not only an in-state school, an in-city school, and it's not an in-city rivalry. We don't look at each other on the same level of football. Academically and school-wise, it's not much love lost there between the two institutions. But to have that go down the way that it did on the grounds of the Orange Bowl, and if you watch it, it didn't even look like one was so much better than the other. Man, that, and then to the way and who we lost to, Coach Butch Davis, that has been begging to come back for a decade and a half. He beat us when he was at UNC. Now he's beating us at FIU. That's where the changes started to happen. And like I said, you add in coaching. And what I mean by coaching is people think, oh, well, I'm teaching a guy to step down as an offensive tackle. I'm teaching a guy a swim move as a defensive end. Coaching is more than just a technique. It's why we're doing this. The down and distance, and understanding how to sink as a corner and not just get lost in coverage, and understanding your immediate threats and then your bluff threats. People that are just running to try to get you to soak up, but it's really going over top. All those little things come into truly being able to teach. That's the art of coaching. It's teaching. And the art of real teaching and the view of it is for somebody to be able to go out and you get the results. That's how I know that you're truly, that's why you have standardized testing in the schools. That's how they're able to evaluate the teacher. Are you teaching based on how these students are passing the test? And if you look at us over the last decade and a half, I don't even go further than that, because if you think about our great teams, it's because we just had the best players, okay? Of certain instances, Butch Davis' staff was amazing. Jimmy Johnson's staff was amazing. But some of those other teams was just you had the greatest players in college football and local history, okay? But if these students have not been passing the test, and I think we finally got evaluated by the right people and got rid of the right people.
And that was the distinction I was making in the recruiting, is that they, over the last 5 years, haven't recruited all-time great teams like they were in the 80s, 90s, and beginning of the 2000s, but they were still recruiting teams that should have been winning, going 9-3, 10-2 instead of 7-5. And, this is getting very specific, but when you talk about players being out of position and just something happening over and over and over that you're thinking, okay, why are they not adjusting to this? When they lost to Virginia Tech last year, Dalton Keene, very good player, not an athletic player, but a very good player for Virginia Tech, who actually got drafted. He scored 3 touchdowns in that game. He continued to sneak out of the backfield. He was either lining up as an H-back or in the backfield as a fullback and just being wide open. And this just happened over and over and over.
Well, what happened was you had cover one hole coverage. What that means is that we only had one high safety, and you have a hole player, whether that be your strong side inside linebacker or your weak inside linebacker. The person who was supposed to be in man coverage on this man every single time was number 56, Michael Pinckney. Every single time he saw him drop back, and you have reads as a linebacker. Okay, and when he saw him drop back for pass protection, he immediately either tried to blitz or become the other hole player to try to get an interception. So instead of just doing his job and fitting the scheme, he was starting to overdo things and just blitz when he's not supposed to, or be a double hole player. That's not the right coverage. And so what does said tight end number 29, no one's ever heard of, do? Oh, he's dropping back. I'm going to sneak out to the flats. No one's there because everyone else was going deep in the shootout. He sneaks right out, 3 touchdowns. They end up winning the game. And it was sickening to continuously watch that over. First time, okay, yeah, I understand you were trying to blitz and be aggressive. Let's make sure that doesn't happen. Second time, okay, we were in the same coverage. You were man on the same guy, and it still happened. Third time was the game sealer to lose the game. And it's just stuff like that. Trajan Bandy on 4th and 17. Okay, we're blitzing from the short side of the field, and you have flats. It's 4th and 17. Back up. Why would you really be in flats on 4th and 17? So technically, you're just the field player because everyone else has someone in their zone. You have no one in your zone. So therefore, you have no immediate threat. So if you have no immediate threat, I need to find green. What that means on defensive terminology is find the open space on my defense. He already has butt to sideline like this, and he's facing the field. And he's just sitting and creeping like this. It's 4th and 7. Back up. The guy catches the ball right behind you, right at the sticks. Those little things, and I understand no one's perfect. I understand Alabama gives up 300-400 yards passing nowadays. I understand that it is an NCAA 14 with no stamina, and everyone's going to make amazing plays. But if on a consistent basis, after he had already gave up a 73-yard bomb in man coverage, that's coaching, man. And if it isn't coaching, then we need to get into the recruiting and the true evaluation of these players before we give them that opportunity to go out there and have something like that happen on national TV. Some of it is unacceptable. Some of it I do understand happens. But I'm hoping that type of stuff is behind us as a program because it's sad to watch, especially when you know what they're supposed to be doing.
904 Hurricane, we love you, but I've got to point out that you are mistaken in your comment here. So you're likening Manny Diaz to Urban Meyer is what I believe your comment means. So yes, not too long there was a coach who did not. So Urban Meyer wasn't there for the 6-7 Ohio State season. That was between
Luke
Tressel and Meyer. That was Luke Fickell. Yep. So Urban Meyer never went 6-7 in his life. Yes, that Miami team 24-6.
An atrocious Miami Hurricanes team.
Yeah, two big name teams having bad seasons. So that Ohio State team that went 6-7 after a bowl loss to your favorite team, Wholesome One, Miami, the Florida Gators. That was not Urban Meyer coach. Then Urban Meyer took over and they won 24 consecutive games. So he wasn't part of that 7 losses.
And then now you're talking about one of the top 5 college football coaches of all time. So if he turns into Urban Meyer, man, we got a great one. He turns into Urban Meyer. Mark, did you ever buy in on Urban Meyer with the USC rumors? Did you ever buy into that, or did you think that things are just not right at USC and he probably wouldn't put his name to something that isn't? Right.
Yeah. So when I found out more about it, what the real situation was is that, yeah, there just wasn't enough faith that Urban Meyer had in the commitment to football. Obviously, USC is a football power, but he didn't have a whole lot of faith in the president and athletic director to make that move. But in terms of on the surface, it looked like, the Pac-12 is nothing close to Big Ten level of play. You would think Urban Meyer would go to that recruiting ground in Southern California. Man, he would own that conference pretty quickly.
Whew. Urban at SC, and then I think us as Miami Hurricanes fans, there's that little flirty with USC.
Yeah.
Kind of similar in the way. I mean, they didn't have the dancing and just wilding out that we did, to my understanding. But if you talk about the similarity in dominant players and things of that nature, USC and Miami is pretty comparable. And, man, that's a program that I would love to see. I think Texas is kind of starting to take those steps, but I would love to see SC and that stadium and those colors in some prime time top 10 games. I mean, just like you saw with the nation when Miami played Notre Dame in 2017. Still the highest rated college football game, I think, up until the Natty this year, something like that. But it was great to see Miami in a big time, prime time atmosphere at home for the first time in a little over a decade. And I would love to see that at SC. It's one of those programs I actually like.
Yeah, and it's very similar currently in that they're not recruiting at the level that they did in their heyday, but they're still recruiting way beyond what they're winning on the field.
Mm-hmm.
They, like Miami, play in arguably the worst division in college football. It's either between the Pac-12 South and the ACC Coastal, and they're recruiting. They had one really down just out of nowhere, like a 50th rated recruiting class like 2 years ago. But besides that, Clay Helton has actually brought in like top 5 to 10 classes to USC, and they're losing their 5 games a year. So it's a very similar situation in regards to, well, the recruiting rankings and the records are not matching, and they're not playing killer schedules. So although USC really loads up on their non-conference schedule, they were going to play Alabama and Notre Dame this year.
Yeah, they had some pretty big ones lined up. And like I said, I would love to see that program do well. And I've always wanted to see, if we didn't get that penalty, how it would have been those mid-2000s Canes having to play the mid-2000s Trojans in a natty. Because I think that Texas's spot could have been Miami's spot if we were still rolling and coaching at a pretty good level. I mean, Larry Coker is Larry Coker. But that took a lot out of the program. And I'm not saying that we would have, without a shadow of doubt, been in Pasadena. That's not what I'm saying. But I think it would have been great to see Leinart and Reggie Bush versus Andre Johnson and those mid-2000s Canes. I think that would have made for some great games.
No doubt. No doubt. So we appreciate the tremendous support there in the comments section. A lot of great comments there, a lot of great questions and so forth to keep us rolling here for close to 90 minutes with 115 on the line. Check out the Wholesome One's work, HOLSUM. Let me get it up on the screen so you can get it right. There he is. Check him out on YouTube. And before you depart here, if you miss some of the show, you just wait for it to post. You catch it in its entirety. Also, please like the videos here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, and be looking out for more content each and every day. Wholesome One, it's been a good time, man.
Absolutely. It was fun. I mean, we discussed the Miami football. It is a Miami Live, but it's always great to just talk to you and talk college football on this platform and with the people in the chat. I love the interaction and the questions that we get. And I just want to let everyone know that it's amazing when we do these lives, and it's kind of hard to keep up with all the comments, but it's great to have that interaction with you all. So go ahead and hit the like button. And like I always say, hashtag Rewatch Squad. I appreciate you. Hashtag Live Squad. I appreciate y'all for being here too. God bless and go Canes.
We'll see everybody back here on Sunday night for a call-in show.